Hi everyone. In this lecture, I would like to introduce you to the letter of Paul to the Galatians. Before I begin this letter, I would like to recommend all of you to go through the videos on letter to the Romans. I have made 2 videos on the letter to the Romans. So please, before you begin the letter to the Galatians, please go through the 2 videos on Romans, because that would better help to understand letter to the Galatians. Okay, I would like to begin the letter as a way of introduction. Among all the letters of Paul, there are 4 letters which are called great letters. The 4 great letters are Romans, Galatians, 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians. So Galatian is one of the great letters. Now Galatians is one of the important and early letters of Paul, if not the first letter of Paul. So it is one of the important and early letters of Paul. Now it is also universally accepted that it is authentically Pauline letter written by Paul himself. In fact, Galatians has been called the most indubitably authentic of all Pauline letters. So there is no doubt about its authorship. So authentically Pauline. Paul himself has written this letter. And Galatians is best understood when viewed together with the letter to the Romans. So that is why at the very beginning of this video I have told that please go through the letter to the Romans. So there are 2 videos on letter to the Romans. So please go through so that we understand better letter to the Galatians. So Galatians is best understood when we view this letter together with the letter to the Romans. That is why scholar J.B. Lightfoot metaphorically expressed that the letter to the Galatians stands in relation to the Romans as the rough model to the finished statue. So rough model is Galatians, whereas finished statue is Romans. Rough model because Paul introduces various central and very important themes in letter to the Galatians. Of course, Galatians is written before the letter to the Romans is written. So that is why all the themes that are introduced in the letter to the Romans are elaborately dealt or elaborately expressed in a letter to the Romans, so which is considered to be the finished statue. So with this few words of general introduction to the letter, now I would like to focus on the importance of this letter, importance of Galatians. Galatians is one of the most important documents of the early Christianity, and for 2 reasons. There could be many more, but I would like to focus on 2 reasons why Galatians is very important document of the early Christianity. Reason number 1. Galatians recorded many detail about the life of Paul. Paul, who is the apostle of the Gentiles. So we find many personal details, autobiographical details about Paul in this letter, especially in the text chapter 1 verses 11 to chapter 2 verse 10. So it reveals the personality of Paul. So we come to know more about Paul, his personality from this letter. So it is for this reason it is considered to be one of the important documents of the early Christianity. Reason number 2, it also records the development of Christianity as a new religion. So that is to say, the letter Galatians gives us the information of some of the tensions, some of the problems that arose on account of the fact of Christianity. It was not an easy go for the early Christianity as a new way, as it was creeping to be a new way and a new religion. So there was a lot of tensions, not only from outside but from within the church among the Christians. So there were a lot of tensions and problems with regard to the doctrines, the theology, the understanding of Christ, understanding of the gospel, also among the unity of the church, and so on. So there were a lot of tensions and problems existing in the early Christianity. So this letter reveals all of them, presents or records. So through these tensions and problems, it presents the development of Christianity. Now, Galatians is the historic document which testifies to the first radical questioning of Pauline gospel by the Christians themselves. So as we know, popularly, Paul is known as the apostle to the Gentiles. He was called to be so. He was commissioned to be an apostle to the Gentiles, and he had taken up that commission of the risen Lord, whom he experienced personally on the way to Damascus. Now, his apostleship, the gospel he preached, were challenged not by outsiders but by Christians themselves. In the Galatian context, his own converts. So all this is recorded in the Galatians. So Paul writes all about this. So that is why Galatians is the historic document which records or which testifies, which gives witness to the first radical questioning and challenging of Pauline gospel, as well as his apostleship, not by someone outsiders but by Christians themselves. So this is to say, the Pauline message, the Pauline gospel was doubted and contested, questioned by his own converts. And Paul's apostleship and his message or gospel were severely questioned and challenged. Therefore, Galatians presents the first systematic apology of Christianity. In Galatians, Paul defends what he calls the truth of the gospel. So that is what I mean. It presents the first systematic apology of Christianity. Apology means defending the faith, doctrine, theology of Christianity. So Paul, through this letter, in the context of Galatian churches, in which the Christians themselves were questioning and challenging the gospel preached by Paul, his message, as well as his apostleship. So through this letter, Paul is defending. In that sense, Galatians represents the first systematic apology of Christianity. And the letter also is known as decisive and severe letter, or this letter is called as harsh letter because of the context of these Galatian churches, Galatian Christians. So Paul uses a bit harsh words, so that is why this is called as harsh letter. For example, Paul addresses Galatians as foolish at least 2 times in chapter 3. So that is why it is popularly known as a harsh letter or a severe letter, as Paul wrote it against the background of the false teachers, or they are popularly called as Judaizers. And finally, as we are discussing about the importance of this letter, as a final point, I would like to say that this letter is relevant even today, because the main topic, the main theme, the central theme of this letter is freedom that Christ gives, or the meaning of freedom and law. So today we are also trying our level best to have a clearer understanding of ethics of freedom and law. So to all of us, Galatians gives the gift of the right understanding of what is freedom, what is law, and of course the freedom and law in love and the spirit. So this is the importance of the letter to Galatians. Now let us discuss about Galatia and the Galatian churches, how the churches were established in Galatia. Now Galatia was the name of a Roman province in Asia Minor, which is now in present modern Turkey. Galatia is not one church, Galatia is not one place, it is like a province, it is like a state, it's like a district in which there were different churches established by Paul and his companion Barnabas. So Galatia was the name of a Roman province in Asia Minor. It became a Roman province from 25 BC, and its capital was Ancyra, and the modern name of Ancyra is Ankara. Today the place is called as Ankara, which was Ancyra, which was called earlier as Ancyra. So here people are influenced first by Hellenism and then by Roman culture. Now Paul is writing this letter to the churches of Galatia, not church of Galatia but plural, churches of Galatia. Now let us discuss about these churches of Galatia. Actually we have a little information about these Galatian churches. What do we mean by Galatian churches? Where do we find these churches? In fact, this letter is addressed to the churches in Galatia that we find in chapter 1 verse 2, particularly in South Galatia. According to Acts of the Apostles chapter 13 verses 13 to chapter 14 verse 20, Paul and Barnabas preached the gospel in South Galatia during first missionary journey. As we have already seen, Barnabas was the companion of Paul during the first missionary journey. So Paul and Barnabas preached the gospel in Galatia, especially in South Galatia. Now what are all the places that comprise South Galatia? As we see in Acts of the Apostles, Antioch of Pisidia, reference to Acts 13:14, then Iconium, Acts 13:51, Lystra, chapter 14:8, and Derbe, chapter 14 verses 19 to 21. So all these places, Pisidia, Iconium, Lystra and Derbe, they make the part of South Galatia. So according to Acts of the Apostles, these are the places in Galatia, especially in southern part of Galatia, where Paul and Barnabas preached the gospel. So now churches of Galatia are Pisidia, Iconium, Lystra, Derbe. Now Paul preached there during his first missionary journey. So people very well accepted the gospel, the word of truth preached by Paul and his companion. And after having established churches, Paul visited Galatia during his second missionary journey, as we have a reference to it in Acts of the Apostles chapter 16 verses 1 to 6. Then during the third missionary journey, Paul also passed through Galatia once again, as we have a reference to it in Acts of the Apostles chapter 18 verse 23. Now I would like to give a picture of these Galatian churches before the arrival of the Paul. arrival of Paul. Of course, with the arrival of Paul, gospel was preached. Then what was the response of the Galatians? And then what was the picture of Galatian churches after the departure of Paul? So that would give a lot of enlightenment on the context for which Paul also is writing this letter. Now, before the arrival of Paul, the people of Galatia did not know God, and they accepted false divinities, as we see in chapter 4 verse 8. That means they were pagans. They did not know who true God was, and they adored the elemental spirits of the universe. They adored the elements of the spirits of the universe, as we see in chapter 4 verses 9 and 10. And they were subjected to the yoke of slavery, as we see in chapter 5 verse 1. So this is the situation before Paul arrived in Galatia. Now, arrival of Paul. Paul arrived in Galatia ill. He was sick. He arrived there sick. He was not well. But still, Paul records that Galatians received him as an angel of God, as Christ Jesus, as we see in chapter 4 verses 14 to 15. And Paul also accepted their customs and traditions, and he refused to live like a Jew. So thus he has become one of them. He has become as they are, as we see in chapter 4 verse 12. Then as long as Paul was there in Galatia, he worked hard for them, as he says in chapter 4 verse 11. And Paul also acknowledges that his missionary work in Galatia was carried out under great suffering in chapter 4 verse 19. Now, what was the response of the Galatians? So on the part of Galatians, they heard the gospel with faith, as it is recorded in chapter 3 verse 2 and verse 5. Even though the message of the gospel was very difficult, especially the message of the cross, recorded in chapter 6 verse 14. So their faith was an answer to the call of God. So through the preaching of Paul and his companion, Galatians have received the vocation and call from God, and by hearing in faith, Galatians have responded to the call of God, as we see in chapter 1 6, chapter 5 8 and 14. And Galatians have received baptism. So through baptism, they have become the children of God, as we see in chapter 3 verses 26 to 27. For many of them were baptized into Christ, and they have put on Christ. So through baptism, they have become inheritors. They have become children of God. And thus they entered into communion with the Spirit. So through baptism, they have also received the Spirit, as Paul records it in chapter 3 verses 2 to 5. Now, as a result, they who were slaves to the elemental spirits now experienced freedom from the elemental spirits, and they have experienced redemption, salvation, or freedom from the curse of the law. Now, what was the situation after the departure of Paul? Did they continue in that faith they have received through the gospel preached by Paul? Now, we said that when Paul reached in Galatia, he preached the gospel, and the Galatians received, heard the gospel in faith, and they have received baptism. So Paul could change the situation radically. So he gave the meaning of circumcision and a new significance to the Mosaic law. Now, after Paul's departure from Galatia, there entered false apostles or false teachers whom we call Judaizers. So they have entered Galatia and infiltrated the situation there in the communities. Because of their false teaching, because of their misguiding, now Galatians felt that something is lacking in their faith. They expressed a kind of emptiness in their new faith in Christ. So they wanted to, as a result, they wanted to betray the gospel. They wanted to go away from the gospel. They wanted to abandon God. They wanted to break up with Christ. They wanted to reject the truth of the gospel, truth of the Christian message preached by Paul, and which they had accepted faith, and as a consequence they have received baptism and become children of God. So because of the influence of these false teachers, now they were having recourse to the practice of Mosaic law. So they were made to believe that there was no salvation without the observance of the Jewish law. So that is why Paul writes in chapter 1:6, I am astonished, I am ashamed that you are so quickly deserting him who called you in the grace of Christ and turning to a different gospel. So here Paul meant a different gospel in inverted commas, referring to a law-centered gospel, not the Christ-centered gospel. And Paul also writes in 5:4, he says that Galatians have fallen away from grace. So when they have accepted the gospel, received baptism, they have received the Spirit and grace of God. Now by abandoning, by breaking up with Christ, by abandoning the gospel, by betraying the gospel, so they have fallen away from that grace. So this situation is due to the Judaizers, the false teachers, so who were misleading and contaminating the faith of the Galatians. So because of this, Galatians have embraced a different gospel, which is known as a law-centered gospel, as opposed to Christ-centered gospel, which was preached by Paul. So this was the situation, establishment of the Galatian churches before arrival of Paul, with the arrival of Paul, and after the departure of Paul. Now let us study about the occasion and purpose of the letter. What was the context of which in which Paul had written, and what purpose? So now the context is more or less clear from the above explanation. Now, as I had already pointed out, after the establishment of the churches in Galatia, Paul visited them a second time during his second missionary journey. That was his second visit. Now Paul gets some information after his second visit that his converts are subjected to propaganda by some troubleshooters, these false teachers or Judaizers, troubleshooters, those who trouble, those who confuse, as we find them in 1:7 and 5:10. And the same people are called those who unsettle, or otherwise some translations you find agitators. And in 5:12 in 5:12 we find agitators, or those who unsettle you. A mention is made also in 1:9 as those preaching the gospel contrary to that which we preached. Then in 2:4 as false brethren who spy into our freedom and bring us into bondage. So they are called as false brethren. Then in chapter 6 verses 12 to 15 they are called as those who insist on circumcision. So we can call them also as the circumcision party. So false teachers, false brethren, agitators, circumcision party. So all these people are same. Now they were branded as Judaizers or circumcision group. Who were they? They were Judeo-Christians, perhaps non-Galatian origin. So they wanted to impose on Christians of Gentile origin the practice of the Mosaic law, as Paul writes in 3:2, 4:21 and 4:5, and bind the Galatians to the performance of circumcision, as Paul writes in chapter 2, 3-4, chapter 5, 2 and chapter 6, 12. So these Judaizers, circumcision group, were insisting that these were necessary for salvation. So according to their propaganda, according to their teaching, circumcision and the legal observance of the Mosaic law were necessary for salvation. So they were preaching a new gospel, a different gospel based on human performance, that is law-centered gospel. So totally different from the gospel that Paul preached, totally different from Paul's understanding of divine acceptance, that is Christ-centered gospel. So Paul realized the danger of this false teaching, false teachers or Judaizers or this circumcision group. Therefore, Paul felt the need to direct his attention to these issues in such a context. So it is in this context that Paul had written this letter. Now, what is the purpose of this letter, or what message Paul is trying to convey to the Galatians? So in this letter, Paul insisted on having preached a gospel without law, in which the Gentiles were assured of salvation and justification on the basis of their faith in Jesus Christ. So that is the whole summary of the gospel preached by Paul. So such a claim from Paul made them question all the more his authority as an apostle. So they said that Paul was not a genuine apostle and that he lacked the authorization to preach. They said that Paul lacked the letter of recommendation or the letter of authorization, maybe from Jerusalem apostles, leaders of Jerusalem, to preach. So to them, the Jerusalem leaders were only persons with authority to say what the true gospel was, and that authority they had received directly from Christ. So these were some of the claims these false teachers were making on Paul. But on the contrary, Paul instead possessed no such a comparable authority. When you compare with the apostles, so Paul possessed no such comparable authority. Hence, the false teachers concluded that he was teaching quite a different gospel. So not they. So it was Paul who was preaching a quite different gospel. So according to these false teachers, these Judaizers, circumcision group, or Judeo-Christians who were insisting on circumcision as well as on the Mosaic law, Paul did not preach the whole gospel. So according to them, Paul did not preach the whole gospel. And they argued that the Jewish scriptures showed that God gave the Torah as a means of attaining salvation. So Paul understands the danger of this situation, the danger of this context. So Paul realized that their tactics were a real threat to the gospel of Christ. So his strong reaction to this understanding in Galatia provides the immediate occasion or immediate context of the letter. And in this letter, Paul reminds the Galatians of their foolishness, and he and he exhorts them to come back to the true gospel preached by him and not to be led astray by those false teachers or Judaizers or circumcision group. So Paul expresses at the very beginning of this letter, chapter 1 verse 6, Paul expresses his astonishment at Galatians. So it was a kind of emotional outburst, but it's more than the emotional outburst. Then Paul expresses his bitter disappointment, as we see in chapter 4 verse 11. So this is the context in which Paul expresses his astonishment and his bitter disappointment, and he exhorts, he clarifies what the true gospel is, and he also defends his apostleship, which was questioned by Christians themselves. So this is the context and the vocation and the purpose of the letter of Paul to Galatians. Next point, addressee. Of course, as we know, in chapter 1 verse 2, this letter is addressed to the churches of Galatia. So addressee is identified as the churches of Galatia, as we see in chapter 1 verse 2. Now, who are these churches, or what are these churches? We have already explained in detail in the above sections. Now, scholar M.J. Taylor concludes that the addressees of Galatians were the people whom Paul converted during his first missionary journey, and the addressee were South Galatians, because Paul founded many churches there, and we have already seen which are the places where Paul preached and established the churches. Now, coming to the date and place of composition of this letter, as I've already said in the introductory part, probably Galatians was written before Romans. Now, coming to the date, scholars think between 54 or 55. So scholars think either 54 or 55 AD is the year in which Paul has written this letter. So this is the probable date of the composition of this letter. Now the place of composition is probably Ephesus, most probably Ephesus, but there are also other opinions of the places like Macedonia or Corinth. Now let us discuss about the authorship and authenticity. So in the introductory part itself, I have said most of the scholars think that indubitably, without any doubt, this is Pauline letter, authentically Pauline letter. So as already said, it is unquestionably Pauline letter. So Paul is the author, as we find his name in chapter 1 verse 1 and chapter 5 verse 1. Now we can give some of the reasonable reasons why this is authentically Pauline. The reasons are the style, the vocabulary, views expressed, the personal characteristics that are manifested in the letter are all unmistakably Pauline. So, and the method and content of the theological arguments also is very much Pauline. So that is why we say it is authentically Pauline. The view expressed by commentators in general is, if Galatians is not from Paul, no New Testament letter is by him, for none has any better claim. So it's very clear that it is authentically Pauline letter. There are no questions, no doubts about it. There were little bit of doubts and questions during end of 19th century and the beginning of 20th century, but in general today a letter to Galatians is accepted as authentically Pauline letter. So today also almost all the Christian groups and scholars see this letter as the programmatic basis for all Pauline thought and the touchstone for all Christian theology. So with this we finish section 1 of Galatians with the background and its understanding, the place and the date of composition, the occasion, context, establishment of the churches, and its authorship and authenticity. So these are some of the basic information which are very essential for us to understand the letter.